You're listening to the Wow podcast, a space for wellness, oneness, and wisdom. Wow! I'm Jennifer Robin. We explore holistic wellness of the body, mind, and soul, along with esoteric and mystical insights. New episodes every Tuesday, plus Start Fresh minis every Sunday. Disclaimer, this content is for informational purposes only and does not diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or psychological mental health disorder. Consult with your healthcare provider for medical problems and before making changes to your physical activity, eating habits, supplements, or wellness strategies. The views and opinions expressed by our guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of the host, the show, or its advertisers. Let's jump in. Today on the show, we have Heather Melville, a certified relationship coach who specializes in toxic relationship recovery. She transitioned out of a career as an electrical engineer once she realized she loves to help people, to talk to people, and to share her experiences for the good of others. She's into spirituality, nature, fitness, consciousness, and travel. Welcome, Heather.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. So that's quite a career change. So tell me about that transition from electrical engineer to relationship coach. And how did you, what made you decide to make that change?
I mean, there's a long story behind it, and it's not my first transition from electrical engineer to relationship coach. But it was in the midst of COVID. And actually, I knew even going through my degree as an electrical engineer, I started having panic attacks, knowing that that's not what I wanted to do. Don't get me wrong. I love math. I love solving problems. But the idea of sitting at a desk all day and just focusing on things I don't care about, analog signals, digital boards, all that, I was just overwhelmed. But I knew I had already put myself in debt, so I had to keep going at least. And one of the big realizations was that I wasn't doing electrical engineering for me. I was doing it because of what other people expected me to do. I thought it was the only way I could make money. And so I was an electrical engineer for about 5 years in my job, which I absolutely hated, was ready to get out of. I worked as a contractor for the DOD, so everything is by the book, and basically it's a bunch of people drinking some Kool-Aid of this is how we have to do it. I'm so amped to help the DOD, but I needed that job to get out of the debt I had just put myself in by doing the degree.
Getting the education, right?
Right, yeah. Right. And so I stuck it out. And actually, originally, I was like, okay, I know I like to talk to people. I know I like to put presentations together. So maybe I'd be a financial coach and tell people how I got out of $67,000 of debt, save $25,000, and do it in 2.5 years.
Oh, wow.
So I was originally like, let me do this. But I realized my circumstances were special. It wasn't really me understanding finance as much as it was me understanding the value of money and the value of my time. And so I was trying to find something that I was passionate about, something that would make me money, would give me the lifestyle I want of being remote, getting to travel more, and having control over my time. And I started kind of digging down into, well, what are the skills I have that I can translate into money? Well, I love to listen, even though I'm sitting here chit-chatting and talking the whole time. But I do love to listen to people. And a special innate skill I would say I have is random strangers. Anybody I meet would come to me and tell me their life story. And I was like, okay, well, why? Why do people love to tell me their life story? And I realized it's something about my energy that allows people to feel vulnerable with me. And I guess maybe I share too, so they feel comfortable. And I was like, okay, I like to talk to people. People like to talk to me. Well,
it means you're approachable, right?
Yeah.
It means you're approachable, you're relatable, you're real.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Authenticity. Yeah. And that's one of my big core values. And I realized that was the other thing too with my engineering job is it didn't align with my values. I wasn't able to be authentically myself because, with the DOD, you have security clearances and you're not allowed to convey that you're a person in all of this.
Yeah.
Also integrity, and like with the corporate world, you're constantly having to kiss up to people just to move forward, just to make a livable salary. And I'm not that way, you know? So I kind of realized like I needed to help people. And then I realized, well, what can I share? How can I help people? I can help people in relationships, especially toxic relationships, because it's what I overcame. Now, I'm not saying that I have the exact answer that everybody, you know, just follow my little timeline and you'll be okay. But I at least know where they're coming from and can give my insight.
Yeah, that's great. So you found your focus there of toxic relationships.
Yeah. Now, I don't want to like hinge solely on toxic relationships, because the other part is understanding relationships in general. Because I realized that all of our pain, all of our sorrow, all of our joy, excitement really comes from the relationships in our life. And I almost feel that our purpose in being here is connection with each other. So,
and you're talking not just romantic relationships, like general, relating to other people. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Because I mean, even you can see it, like, say, you know, you have a fight with your son or daughter or a friend, and then you go to work and it's just like this heavy cloud that shrouds over you, affects you and everything. And so I realized that a lot of people are upset in the world, not because of the economy. I mean, don't get me wrong, everybody's upset about everything going on in the world, but the biggest impact is our relationships. So I wanted to be somebody that could help navigate these relationships. And I mean, I'm not a guru. I don't have all the answers, but I can help you find the answers, and I can help you at least enjoy your relationships and work through those triggers when they pop up, work through those arguments, because you're always going to have them, you know?
That's great. Going from having a job and security, job security, income security, how did you make that leap to now I'm self-employed?
Well, that one I kind of got forced into. So I started doing this certification training before I even left my job, because I knew I wanted to set it up before I left.
That's
so that
smart.
I could just easily transition. That's not how it happened, unfortunately. I know, right?
That was a great plan.
All right. It was a great idea. But I had saved up a lot. So I kind of like started stacking my chips so that I can be comfortable having an income. Now, like mentally comfortable, no, still not comfortable with that idea. But, you know, financially, I'm still comfortable. I'm not in debt. I've got a lot of savings that I can last. Also, I reduced my spending. I live in a custom-built RV with my fiance, so our living expenses are significantly lowered. So I had planned to have things set up before I left, but the job I was at, you're put on specific programs, and if the program's not working or something happens or they have to cut budget, they'll move you on to another program. Well, my job was like, well, we don't have a remote program for you, so we're going to have you come on site indefinitely with no program. So basically, I'd be sitting at not a desk, not my desk, because I don't have a desk, for 9 hours a day, twiddling my thumbs, and I can't use the internet, so I'm just going to sit it there. And I was like, that sounds like hell. Sounds awful. You've had me remote for 2.5 years. There's no way I'm going back, especially to the unknown of like nothing. And so they kind of gave me an option. Either you do that, find another remote position within our company, or we cut ties. And I was like, well, is this the universe saying I need to go? And it was. Now, don't get me wrong, my income is not near where my engineering income was, which is still struggling.
But life is more than money, right?
Exactly.
I can tell you're a person who gets that clearly.
Yeah. I mean, now, don't get me wrong.
You look so happy. I'm just going to say you give off the vibe of like happy, joyful. I can tell you love where you are and what you're doing.
And I do. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to have more money. I'd love to have that security of income coming in. And I'm a big fan of money, you know, and a lot of people, we have these ideas of what money is, like, oh, money is the root of all evil, or money doesn't bring you happiness. And it's not the root of all evil. It's what we've created, the system we've created to make our society functional, however functional it is now. But at the same time, we need to change our ideas about money, that money doesn't bring you happiness, sure, but it intensifies. Money is just an intensifier. So if you're an unhappy person and you get money, you're still going to be unhappy. So I'm just a happy person. And when the money starts coming in, I'm going to be even more happy because I'm like you mentioned before, I'm a big traveler. So I'm kind of limited in the sense that, okay, well, I don't have the income I had coming in, so I have to be careful about how I spend money. But that just means I find cheap ways to travel.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes you an innovator, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So tell us a little bit what it's like traveling and living the way that you do. Do you stay in one state? Do you hop around? What's that like? And how does your new career like mesh with that? How does that all work?
Well, I will say, so we've been living in the bus now for almost 2 years come October. We've been stationary for majority of that. We have it stationed on a friend's property, which we throw her a little bit of money for using like water and stuff. The reason being is my fiance had some medical issues that kind of kept us stuck. And then actually this summer we finally got to break free from the desert heat and go up north to like northern Arizona, Flagstaff, Sedona, which was beautiful. And it was finally the first opportunity for us to experience what we've created, this living really officially off-grid, because we've got solar panels, so all of our energy is free. It just comes down to water, like how often we need to fill up and stuff, which was great. There's always going to be little things like I have to empty our black tank, which is mostly me peeing in it, and it's not the best smell, Also, always being conscious of like how much water we're using, how much electricity we're using, which I kind of enjoy because I feel like we just, flip on the shower for 30 minutes and I mean, how many gallons of water that's going down the drain. So I like that idea, but it also can still be a little bit frustrating. The other thing is internet, right? So making sure we have a good connection. We got Starlink, which is good, but there's some caveats with Starlink. It's funny. I was hosting a webinar because I do monthly webinars in line with relationships and healing from toxic relationships. And so I had it all planned out. Everything was great, had connection, and it just cut out in the middle of, I know. And I was like, I'm recording this for everybody. And we were like, what happened? Well, apparently all of Starlink had cut out. So it wasn't just me. But so those are some challenges that you have to deal with. But like, that's why I want this career, because most of it is online. Most of my clients are online. A lot of the clients I work with actually are overseas. I have a couple clients in Germany, clients in Denmark, a few people that I talk to in New Zealand. But that's what this career allows me to do, to, one, have control of my calendar. So if I don't want to work one day or I want to go hit the beach, I just block my calendar out. But I also get to meet so many people. I mean, this day and age, the technology we have that we can talk to people across the ocean is just amazing. And so it's twofold. I'm trying to build this business for others and for myself, to enjoy the life that I want, that I deserve, of having control over my calendar, getting to see this world. And so hopefully once we get things going, once we have kind of a steady income, we'd like to jump around and see this beautiful country. It's a massive country that we live in. The end goal of our bus living is to find a place where we'd like to buy property and either build a house or buy a house. Because eventually I do want to start a family. I know that's the one big pressure is the clock's ticking, especially as a woman. That clock is ticking for me. I just turned 36, and I know a lot of people will be like, oh, well, you're already geriatric. And I don't subscribe to that, for one. I'm very healthy. Like my chronological age is 36, but my biological is probably like 24, 25.
Yeah.
So,
well, attitude, I think, has a lot to do with that. Have you noticed that people that are positive and happy and joyful tend to be healthier?
Tend to be more youthful.
Yeah. Sometimes they even look younger. Interesting. So how are you finding these clients from across the sea?
Well, a lot of them is referral, to be honest. Most of it's referral. So I through the certification, I had a few referrals. I also am part of a women's networking group, which I'll give a shout out to Powerful Women Rising. The owner, Melissa Snow, she's amazing. If you've ever been interested in networking, she does like virtual speed networking events, and she does all these things of group mastermind, helping you build your business, helping you find referrals within the community and outside. But honestly, it's just kind of happenstance. So, trying to do a lot of things. Like I'm doing email newsletters, and the way I get those emails is by hosting these webinars, and you get the right people who want to hear your message from the way you want to say it, right? Mm-hmm. They connect with you. And so I'm still trying to navigate. So I've only been in business now for a year and some change. And
I didn't realize it was that fresh.
Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic that you already have international clients.
Working on it.
Yay, you. That's awesome.
Trying.
That's awesome. Yeah.
It's just trying to convert it. And honestly, it's like stepping stones as far as goals go. First goal is to just replace the income I have. Next goal will be to expand from there. I do see, and this is my 5-year goal that I kind of see. So I told you I've career changed multiple times. My first degree is actually in theater. Originally, I had gone to school thinking I wanted to be an actor. And I realized quickly that I can't be anything other than myself. And I truly believe a good actor is able to step out of their habits, their thinking patterns, their speech patterns, and become something else. But I can't do that without being, without losing myself. And so I transitioned into lighting design, which I loved, but doesn't make you money. And so I realized where I'm going with all of this is I want to speak to the world. I want to speak to the world as I am and incite joy, help us find that we can have joy within ourselves. And that's where it really comes from. So I just want to empower the world. I want to motivate. So I do eventually want to be a speaker as well.
Well, then that theater training will come in handy.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Not that I implement a lot of the theater training, but.
No, but you'd be surprised how those skills will come in when you need them. Side note, because I did the speaking thing too. If there's Toastmasters near you, that's a good place to practice. Mm-hmm. And then there's the National Speakers Association, which I highly, highly recommend. They have different chapters all over.
I will do the national speaking for sure. I did join some Toastmasters. The problem is I would plan it when I was in the bus, so it'd all be based on Wi-Fi. And the Toastmasters that I did, they would not utilize technology as great. So they basically had one of those conference call speaker things. And so I would hear half the call. I did great, but it was just kind of well, my motivation for this group is gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then that's where this podcasting is okay, well, let me get my feet wet. Let me get myself out there, get myself practicing what it's like to speak, what it's like to answer questions.
Yeah. And your energy comes through. So I think people will see that, people will hear that, and your future clients will be attracted to you, right? For the energy. So what would you say makes someone a good client for you? How would they know you're who they're looking for? What would their circumstances be right now?
With the specific of toxic relationship recovery, just knowing what they've been through and what they're looking for. So for instance, have you experienced a relationship where you didn't feel yourself, where maybe, unfortunately, you experienced physical or mental or emotional abuse like I had, feeling gaslit. That's the big trigger word these days, is being gaslit. Having somebody tell you that your feelings aren't valid or what you're feeling isn't true, and then you're questioning your reality. Having somebody blame you and just not feeling what real love feels like. And the problem is we confuse this love with real love, but it's actually just attachment, which, my clients don't need to know that, but yeah. So it's just feeling not in your full potential and not getting a chance to really feel love and being hurt in love, but knowing that you want more, that you're worthy of more. Maybe you don't know you're worthy of more, and that's something I can help you with. But knowing that this isn't right for you, that the relationship you just went through, all that pain, all that trauma you feel, all the confusion, the loss, the grieving, this shame, and that's a big one, is the shame. A lot of my clients, and I felt it too, feeling shameful that you know what you went through was not good, but you still went through it, and then trying to talk to people who don't understand what it feels like. They're just sitting there saying, well, why did you stay if it was so bad? Well, there's a lot more to it of staying, right? We all have this fear of being alone. We all want to be loved. And sometimes instead of settling for love, we'll settle for connection. We'll, instead of getting love, we'll settle for connection. And that connection can be negative. And so, all my clients are people who have struggled in love, but really want to find love at the end of the day.
Yeah. Do you ever dream of being a better mom, friend, or person? You're not alone. Life happens, and even your best intentions can fall off track. That's why I created Balanced Life Warrior, a no-fluff, practical course that helps you actually make progress toward the goals you have for your life. There's nothing overwhelming here, just tools that actually fit into your busy day. You belong here. Head to whiterobinwellness.com to get started today. That's whiterobinwellness.com. Do you want to share any of your story about the toxic relationship that led you kind of in this direction?
I was in a relationship for 8 years, and I didn't know it was toxic. I saw some red flags. I also started that relationship when I was very naive. It was my first relationship. I had low self-esteem, so it really attracted the perfect type of person to take advantage. But it wasn't about a year. It was about a year into the relationship that I first experienced the physical abuse of it. And that was kind of a continuous thing. My ex was in the military and was in Iraq, had a lot of PTSD, and I used to use that as an excuse for his behavior. Now, don't get me wrong, it definitely, he definitely struggled, but that wasn't my responsibility. And it took me a long time to realize that it's not my responsibility to heal him. And it's not my responsibility to heal anybody else, just like it's not anybody else's responsibility for anybody else, right? So boundaries. I had to learn boundaries. But it was a very tumultuous relationship. It affected not only me, but my friends and family. And that's where the shame came in. And it's funny. They say that women break up in their relationships 6 months before they actually do it. Now, mine was probably 6 years. Yeah, right? You've never heard
the
that
decision has been made, but it takes that long for them to follow through. Wow.
Yeah, to finally and maybe they didn't make the decision. Maybe they've just slowly realized this isn't the relationship for me. But then what stops us from making it right then and there is, again, the fear of being alone and, losing out on love. And just the other thing is we
security too, right?
Yeah, especially in a financial security is
that's what I'm saying.
Well.
You need a house, you need money for food,
Right.
I can imagine.
I'm thankful that I was not we weren't married, we didn't have kids, but his drinking put me in a financial hole that I felt like I could never get out of. At the time, I lived in San Diego, and I mean, if we think rent is through the roof now, it was always pretty pricey there, and I felt like I couldn't get out. I wouldn't be able to move out on my own. But yeah, just I didn't realize the experience it was. And then I was slowly breaking up with him, of course. So I transitioned into electrical engineering, and he had said one day so he was in his own transition of career path, and he was going to be going to school if he got in. And he said to me that, okay, if I get in, I'm going to go live in Europe for 6 months. And you have to find your own way over. And we were already 6 years into the relationship. And it was kind of like, okay, so I have to figure out when I'm broke all the time, how to go live in Europe, or were probably done, which wouldn't have been a bad thing. But I did. I figured out, I found an electrical engineering internship over in Germany. I tried to figure out how to fund it and kind of got it going. And then he did. He didn't go. He didn't get into school. And I was like, well, I'm still going to go. This is a great opportunity. And so the problem is we did stay together. And sometimes I wish I had broken it off then, because I might have enjoyed my time more over there. But I think that time was like the initiation of like realizing, oh, I can be on my own. I am capable of making my own decisions. It's like the fog slowly lifted, right? Unfortunately, I came back and I still went back to the relationship. But I saw that as the moving point. And then when I finally got into school, I attended at NAU, and he still lived in San Diego. NAU is up in Flagstaff. And so it was kind of like slowly, I'm moving out. I'm going to be living on my own. And we kind of did this distance relationship, but I saw more clearly the abuse. Like, I'll give a great example. So I was at NAU and I attended a college fair, and Raytheon, my previous job, picked me up. Again, I'm a unicorn in the sense that not only am I an electrical engineer, but I can talk. Most engineers are not the most communicative, and it makes sense. They're more logical. But so they loved me, and I went down to their hiring event. And this is only 2 months into me living in Flagstaff. And my ex liked to get drunk and just dig into me, bring up all my insecurities, and really attack me from there. But he sent a text saying, like, good luck with your low self-esteem. And I was like, this is an opportunity for me to find a job, a career, and this is how you're treating me. Somebody that you supposedly love and have been in a relationship for, at that point, almost 8 years. And so it's like the moment I moved away, I started really seeing things and started realizing that I'm capable. And the big moment was, I had fear of being alone, and that's why I've stayed so long. But I'd rather be alone than take this. I'd rather be alone for the rest of my life than deal with this. And it really pushed me to finally make the decision. It's funny. So I have a webinar on Thursday, and it's talking about enhancing our relationship skills so that as you're healing, you can start to understand what it is you want in a relationship and how to actually deal with it, right? Because even though the toxicity comes from the other person, we still need to understand how we show up in a relationship and how we can make that better. And so I had this woman kind of reach out to me, just talking about what she's going through. And I shared with her, I was hiking in Flagstaff, which I love to do, hike alone. And I had this epiphany and I was still in the relationship, that if I continue on 8 years, there's got to be an end game, right? 8 years in a relationship, you're either getting married, having kids, or you're just wasting each other's time. And it hit me that if we had kids and he still acted this way, how would I be able to teach them that this treatment is not okay for them, but it's okay for me? And right? Really struck me.
Quite an insight. Yeah.
Right. Like, what if I had a son? How do I tell him this is not okay to treat other women, but your mom is okay in accepting it? Or same with a daughter, like, hey, you deserve better, but your mother doesn't. And so that really hit me.
Really interesting way to look at it.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I realized that as much as I am focused on helping these women heal, and I want everybody to experience the current relationship that I'm in, which is healthy, loving, fulfilling, satisfying. Another duty of mine is to kind of stop these patterns, right? This toxic relationship doesn't just affect the people in it, the people around it, but if they have kids, that gets passed on. And then we just go down this rabbit hole of having all of these toxic, narcissistic relationships.
Yeah. Yikes.
Yeah. But and kind of a long story short, to answer your question, as I was healing and realizing that I'm okay, and I broke up with him, and I was fighting tooth and nails, like, I'm never going to be in a relationship. the next time I'm going to be in a relationship, it's going to be an open relationship. So I met my fiance on Tinder, and I had all these like, I don't care, I'm going to be me, I have no expectations, which just opened the gate to fall in love with somebody and really, and really understand what it means to be in love, to love somebody unconditionally. And don't get me wrong, me and my fiance have fights, not all the time, but we do. You're going to have...
Well, that's normal.
Right.
Yeah.
You have two separate people with two different opinions, two different backgrounds. You're gonna fight. But the big thing is, how do you come back from that? Do you have mutual respect in the way you guys fight? Or is it constantly tearing each other down, attacking each other's insecurities?
Yeah.
When it comes to like practices for maintaining your relationship, maintaining the passion and the excitement, and actually it was my fiance who came up with this, but at the end of the month, we have a dinner date, and I get like super fancy, like actually put all the makeup on. And all those dresses that you buy for other people's weddings, but then only wear once. I pull those dresses out and we get super fancy. And most of the time we don't go out to eat or something, partly because we're good cooks and we'd rather just cook at home. But it's just like a romantic time for us to just like remember what we look like all fancy, because we don't do it all the time. Sometimes we use it as like, hey, let's touch in with our relationship. Hey, I freaked out a couple weeks ago and this is why, this is what I need. But it's just a really good practice. In a couple of days, we will do it, and it'll be 5 years we've been doing it every single month. Now, I mean, like, we try to do it on the end. Sometimes, like, things are busy and it carries over to the first or second, or we do it early. But it's just a really good practice to touch base and remind yourself, like, this is the person I love, and we like to do these things together and just show how much we love each other. And again, maybe use it as a conference of like, hey, we need to touch base. Like, we've been having too many fights about this, or we haven't worked through this issue. But it's just a really romantic idea too. That's the other thing. And we spend so much money on like, oh, we've got to go out and have a fancy dinner, but it doesn't need to be, right?
Yeah.
If that's what the relationship is based on, well, when money runs out or like COVID happens where you can't go out, what happens to the relationship, So you got to get back to those roots of why you're there together.
Tell me a little bit about your time in Europe. And did that, what was it like living in another country? And I'm just wondering if that ties into your kind of travel bug a little bit.
It ties into the travel bug, but it also ties into my confidence in myself. And this is why, and so it's like funny that I've had all these ideas. First a financial coach. Then I was like, well, what was the big changing in me was traveling alone. And so I was like, maybe I'll create a course to help women travel alone, because that's the big thing. Was when you travel alone, when you get off that flight, you get off that train, there's nobody there to say, oh, this is how we get to our hotel, our hostel, whatever. Here, so it's all on you. And then you're looking around and it's like, I don't recognize those letters.
Yeah.
However, I will say, I don't know how people did it before Google Maps. But yeah, yeah, that really incited the travel bug. While I was over there, so I lived in Germany for 6 months and I was doing an electrical engineering internship. I didn't realize that the professor who was watching over was like, I just really wanted you to travel, because I was feeling guilty that he had these expectations of what I should be learning and what I should be contributing. And he's like, well, I wanted you to learn a little and travel, and experience Germany.
Okay.
And I was like, I wish you would have told me that in the beginning, so I would have had less guilt that here I am like dipping out, traveling. But yeah, so while I was there, I got to travel to, I think at the time it was about 9 different countries, like Denmark, Belgium. And that's the other thing is traveling when you're in Europe, so cheap. I mean, I know, if anybody is listening who's from Europe and I mention Ryanair and they're going to be like, oh, that's horrible. I started realizing when I would take these flights, people clap when they land. And I was like, what? Why are they clapping? I've never heard somebody clap when we land. And it's just kind of like, hey, thank God we landed. He did a great job. We're survived. And that's kind of how bad Ryanair is. I never experienced anything bad with it. And, with cheap airlines, yeah, you're going to get cheap things like you have to pay for a carry-on or whatever. But I went from Hamburg, Germany to Brussels, Belgium for 33 euro, which at the time the dollar was not doing as great compared to the euro. So it was like $40 round trip.
Wow.
I don't know where we can travel within the United States that's that cheap. But yeah, I mean, just traveling, seeing another country. And when I first went over there, everybody's like, oh, don't worry. Everybody speaks English over there. Not necessarily. So, don't be relying like everybody's just speaking English. It should be fine. The bigger cities, yeah, everybody speaks English. But I was in a small town in Germany. And so the younger generation, they're still learning English in school. But once they get out of school, if they have no reason to continue, they kind of drop it. But thankfully, I was trying to learn German and just, nowadays you've got Google Translate that'll help you really well. But it was just exciting to see a different culture, a different way of living, and seeing what other people focus on as far as everything, food, what's important to them, what they spend their money on, where they go, where they get excitement. And I met so many friends, so many people I'm still in contact with there. And I miss it.
Do you think you'll go back to Europe?
I did that when I was in that relationship. And I ended that relationship. And when I was getting my first job, they gave me a moving bonus. And I was like, I'm going to, but now I'm doing it single. So I did a 2-week trip over there. And since then, I've still traveled quite a bit. My fiance's from Morocco, so we've traveled to Morocco a lot. I've been now to Puerto Rico, Costa Rica. In fact, my fiance proposed in Costa Rica, and if you can see these coconuts from behind their little coconut planters, those are from Costa Rica as well.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, love to travel. I just love to experience and see different cultures, different food, and just see the world, see the beauty we have out here.
Nice. So what advice would you give someone who, we'll get off the relationship thing just for a moment and go back to your career change. Somebody who knows they're not liking their everyday experience. They're not liking whatever's happening when they get to work and sit down at the desk. What would you say to them to get them to start thinking about, like, what do I really want to do? Like, what are some first steps? Do you have any advice for someone in that position? How do they just take baby steps?
Right. Yeah. Baby steps. And it is baby steps. And I think the first thing is questioning and awareness, right? First, come into awareness of what is it you don't like about your job or wherever you're at. Is it what you're doing every day? Is it the people you're around? Maybe it's the city you're living in, or maybe it's the type of work you're doing, or maybe it's just the company you work for. So start getting aware of what it is that you really don't like. And this is the thing I have an issue with when it comes to this society of going to college. Like when I was in high school, everything was focused on getting into college, but nobody talked about, okay, when you get there, here's what you should choose as far as a career. And what does that career look like for a day-to-day basis? Are you sitting in an office 9 to 5? Or are you out and about? And now we're coming into this world of remote, right? Thankfully, there are some benefits of COVID, right? Which was this remote, realizing we don't need to be in an office all the time. But so starting to ask yourself those questions. And then the next thing for me was thinking about what are the skills I have and what do I like to do? And that's where I realized I like to give presentations. I like to present. I like to teach people. I like to talk. And but the other thing is then I realized I like to listen as well. I like to hear people's story. I like to hear where they've been through. I like to hear their thought process. And it's funny because I did take psychology in my first degree. I didn't do well. I failed it twice, not because I didn't understand, but it was one of those hybrid classes. And being a dumb 20-year-old, I was like, oh, I have Tuesday in class and Thursday online. So basically Thursday I don't have class. And then, so basically half the class I never heard. But I realized that I enjoy that. So digging down into what it is you enjoy and what can you monetize. I mean, everybody's looking for somebody.
I think that's the sticky part. I know a lot of people that know what they like to do and what they want to do, and they can't connect the dots from that to actually making money. Right. I know a lot of people in that boat.
Yeah, and that's the hard part, and that's where the entrepreneurial part comes in. Is like, okay, how can I get this out there so people are willing to pay for it? And they always talk about, what problem do you solve, and find a way to solve it faster than whatever is out there in the market. Yeah. And I mean, these are all general like awarenesses, and don't get me wrong, I'm not making like my full engineering income yet, and I'm still trying to figure that out. Like, how do I get more clients? How do I get my voice out there so people know that I'm shop's open, come to me. I've got some answers. Yeah. And that takes trial and error. That takes research. Just asking. And now we've got ChatGPT. Ask ChatGPT. How do I make money in gardening? How do I make money teaching others how to sew? And I mean, we've got so many spaces out there. Granted, now we've got more competition, but that's the fun part, isn't it? The excitement. And the big thing is, don't be afraid to fail. I know we've been taught so much that failure is just bad, but it's not really failure, right? If you turn it into a learning opportunity, okay, well, that didn't work. Let me pivot. And who knows? This could be what I'm working on now could fail. And I mean, I've come across many failures, or in my mind, learning opportunities, ways to pivot, Yes. So it's just allowing yourself. But the thing is, set yourself up financially first. And that's not necessarily like having 100 G's in the bank to be like, okay, I'm ready to make a business, but set yourself up in that you can reduce your daily spending or your monthly spending, and, realize what it is how much you really need to live off of, and then start from there. Okay, well, my bills are only really 1,000, even though right now I'm spending 3,000. Where can I cut costs? And then, because that's the thing is, I don't think I'd be able to do this if I didn't have the financial cushion, right? Yeah. Because then I'm coming from a place of scarcity, like money.
Yes. And people can feel that. Even when it doesn't show, it comes through in your marketing. It comes through in the vibe that you give off. Yeah, that's true. That's I see that sometimes in networking. Right. You can tell who's desperate and who's hungry. And it's like the used car salesman vibe. Like you're like, whereas you meet someone that's smiley and happy and all excited, and you're like, oh, I want to hear what are they doing? Like, they're interesting, they're relaxed, they're calm, interesting.
Now, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm just a smiley person and a happy person, but that doesn't mean I don't have in the back of my mind, I need to start making money. Like, especially at my age where, 36, okay, I still have quite a few years. I don't think I'll ever really truly retire because it's something I love. But, I do need to start putting some chips away for later. We do still want to buy property. But the other thing is, too, you don't necessarily have to switch straight into a new career. Yeah. You could do some little side stuff on the side. So I do e-commerce as well on the side. I sell a few things here and there. Not enough to, again, replace my income, but just creating those avenues for yourself. And that's another lesson we learned from COVID is don't rely solely on one source of income. Yeah. Because that source can go away quick.
That's true.
This is why I was like, oh, financial. I should really talk about this. And I mean, I do invest as well, but I'm not an expert when it comes to investing. I'm not an expert in knowing all the tax deductions and all of those things. But I know what worked for me was, understanding what I spend on, finding the value in what I spend. And a big thing that I learned was we have that adage of like, money is time, but that's not true. Or no, sorry. It's the other way around. We say time is money, but actually time is valuable. It's the only thing we have to give. And it's the only account that we don't know the balance of.
So
we're sitting here spending. But if you realize that if you're trading your time for money, then every time you go to buy something, you're trading your time for whatever you're buying. And so like, okay, Starbucks every day, $5 a day. If you hate your job now, that's like, $45 a week or $40 a week. And like, okay, is that really worth your time that you're spending?
Right.
Because we're all
Right.
after time. That's all we're after, is having more time to do things.
Do you have a favorite affirmation or a favorite quote that motivates you?
The one that I recently was thinking about, so I listened to Dr. Wayne Dyer, who's passed, but I've still got his CDs. One of them is the Excuses Be Gone. You're familiar with him?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. I just loved his voice, and I'm like, I got to emulate that somehow, but like the Heather version. But he did say recently in the CDs I'm re-listening to is, don't underestimate your power to change yourself. And don't overestimate your power to change others. Because at the end of the day, the only thing we can change is ourselves. I know we're all looking to change others and putting, the blame on them. Well, it's their fault. Well, if they would just be like this. But don't overestimate that you can do that. We can influence people for sure. And that's where the thing I'm learning is, if I want to influence people, well, I have to be the example.
Yeah.
And that's where it kind of comes in, that even all of this relationship work, I'm learning about, how do I get triggered? How do I explode at my fiance and like just go through my emotions and not seeing logically like what he's asking for, So all of this is still me learning as well, which I'm just trying to pass on the lessons that I learned.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here today and speaking with all of us. You can connect with Heather at healthyrelationships.info.
It'll have links for my monthly webinars and a weekly newsletter, just some inspiration weekly. For Instagram, it's healthyrelationships.coach. And I just put some content out there about, how to rewire your brain after a toxic relationship and how to become your best self so that you attract the love you want, just stuff like that.
Perfect. Well, listeners, we will link to all of that in the show notes so that you can find Heather. Again, thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. This was so much fun.
Thanks for listening and supporting the show. What did this bring up for you? What was your biggest aha moment? Find expanded show notes, transcripts, links, and resources at omwowpod.com. That's omwowpod.com. If this resonated with you, please help the show by subscribing, sharing with a friend, and leaving a review. Thank you. Have questions, show ideas, or respectful feedback for me? Jump into the show notes for this episode and let me know. Bye for now.